Welcome to Sports Scope, the most influential sports talk show in the nation.
What is today, the 19th?
Stay tuned for updates and great sports content.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to Sports Scope. I'm your host, Robert Butler, on this May the 13th day. A lot of great NBA playoff games. Got one on now. No Donovan Mitchell, no problem. I mean, Cleveland's hanging in there. It's a 5-point game for Boston. Although Boston, I'll tell you, they played one of the best games in years in Game 3. In Game 3 on Saturday night, Minnesota, Denver, as we expected. Sorry, my alarm's going off to tell me that the show was starting. Yeah, so Minnesota, Denver, as we expected, going to talk about that. Jared Goff signed a big contract extension today, so the Lions are ramped up and ready to go. So going to talk about that. Let's take our first and only break, and I'll be back here in 49 seconds. We'll hit the ground running here on Sports Scope. Hello, Sports Scope followers. The program has seen tremendous growth since going 5 days a week. I just wanted to thank everybody for your cash contributions and sharing the program with friends and families. Just a reminder, if you want to contribute to the program, go to the Cash App, the cash sign, and Sports Scope. There are other ways to contribute to the program listed at the bottom of the screen. If you want to advertise on the program, go to sports, that is sports with an S, another S, scope, SKOPE, at gmail.com, just like it's listed at the bottom of the screen. Thank you and enjoy the program. All righty then. Real quick announcement here, and I'll say this again tomorrow. Wednesday, I've got some routine car repairs to do. Won't have a live show, but Wednesday I will be on another TV show, and I'm trying to get the name of it now. Our YouTube show here, biting. I hope I didn't accidentally delete my friend's. Delete his Biting Kneecaps YouTube channel. Kneecap Biting with the Motor City Lions. I will be on that show at 9 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Central. Wednesday night will be the NFL schedule release. We'll be talking about schedule releases with Jeremy Ballrick, who's been on this big new Detroit Lions fan. Got a really good his YouTube channel's got way more followers than mine, actually. 435 subscribers here. With Jeremy Ballrick, I'll be on his show again on Wednesday, folks. Tune into that at 9. We'll talk about schedule release. We'll probably go over the Titans. We'll go over the Detroit Lions kneecap. Yeah, that is what Dan Campbell said, Pickles. That kneecap biting, that was an opening statement in Dan Campbell's initial press conference when hired by the Detroit Lions. That's why we all thought he was going to be a foolish knucklehead head coach. Turned out to be a pretty good coach, other than going for it on fourth down all the time in crucial situations. They're on the bench of a Super Bowl. I will talk about those details. And Jared Goff's contract extension that came about 2 hours ago. Still trying to figure out all the details. I'll tell you this. I'll get to that story later when I talk some NBA playoffs, but it does look a little rich. I'll tell you that. It looks a little rich. I would have probably tried to get it about 10% lower, but I can kind of understand the school of thought of Brad Holmes, the general manager's school of thought coming into this season with a lot of lofty expectations for this 2024 Detroit Lions football team. Who's ever said that in the preseason of the Detroit Lions in the history of the organization? I know I've never even thought that comment. Lofty expectations. They're lucky to be 500 by Thanksgiving, Pickles. That's 10, 20 years ago. Now it's Super Bowl or bust. So, anyways, I'll get to that story in just a little bit. So last night, I wake up really early on Sunday morning sometimes. And long story short, I go to church at 9 a.m., my local time here, and feel a little tired. That really didn't get a good nap in yesterday. I called to my mom for about almost 2 hours. Happy Mother's Day, belated Mother Day to you folks. So I took a late nap at 6 o'clock Central Time, almost 2 hours, but I had the game recorded. Game four of Minnesota and game four of Minnesota Denver, which is really turned out to be as advertised. And I'm glad because I stayed up and watched the whole thing. It was a great game. I love Kevin Harlan on the commentator for TNT. Love Barkley, Shaq, everybody at halftime there. That was a really, really good game here. And that's the one I wanted. That's the series. And I'll still say this, folks. The winner of this series, in my opinion, will win the NBA championship pending a flood of injuries. The winner of this Denver-Minnesota series, which now, who would have thought 72 hours ago, who would have thought 72 hours ago that it's probably going to, the momentum can swing all the way back towards the Denver Nuggets? But it did. Okay? All right, so let's go back to those notes here. Let's see. Denver, Minnesota. This is what I put on the X app immediately after the game. And later on, Mike Malone, the head coach, after I watched the press conference, said the same thing. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. That's former Rockets coach Rudy Tomjanovich when the Rockets rallied past the Orlando Magic in the 1995 finals. They were defending champs. Remember, they beat the Knicks in that year of the O.J. Chase in 94. They were defending champs against a wildly talented third-year pro, Shaquille O'Neal and Penny Hardaway. That team was led by Kenny Smith, who's on TNT, of course, Sam Cassell, Vernon Maxwell, and, of course, Hakeem Olajuwon. Rudy Tomjanovich says, never underestimate the heart of a champion. That crossed my mind while watching this game. I posted on X. And, again, Michael Malone, listened to him at the post-game press conference. Head coach of Denver Nuggets.
Find here in Minnesota or maybe even regain. But what I found is Rudy T is right, man. Never underestimate the heart of a champion. Yeah, I mean, like they were quick to write us off, but these guys won a championship a year ago.
Yeah, they're 3-1 on the road, by the way. 3-1 on the road. Michael Malone reiterates that comment there. I guess my first observation was Denver's patience with the physical adaptation to Minnesota's defensive intensity, often picking up players like Jamal Murray, 94 feet, picking up and Aaron Gordon, between him and Gordon half court, sometimes 94 feet. Murray getting rid of the ball, getting it back to Jokic, not just settling for the lone jumper, but getting to the ball and to the open man in small spaces in the paint. It looked like a work of art here. You've got Rudy Gobert, 7 foot plus. You've got 6'11", 7 foot, whatever. Karl Anthony Towns and you've got the Joker there backing these guys into the paint. And mind you, Aaron Gordon is only 6'8", okay? And the ability to find him and not have that ball knocked away is really, really good basketball. I mean, that is a hard pass to make, and he made it, Pickles, time and time and time again last night, okay? It reminded me of John Stockton, minus the fact that he's not 7 foot tall. John Stockton's ability to find Karl Malone in these tiny little spaces there when the postman is all over him, the defender there, and there's traffic everywhere, and just not settling like they did in game 1 and game 2, not settling for the fadeaway jumper, but backing him in and looking for the opening here and finding it every time. I didn't see one ball get knocked away from the Joker when he was trying to find either a Murray or especially an Aaron Gordon. You know, Gordon, by the way, if this was football and you were giving out game, Aaron Gordon would get the game ball. You know, had the best game in game 4. Aaron Gordon, let me get his. Aaron Gordon, 27 points, 11 of 12. I mean, Gordon was money in the bank, you know, 3 from 3, hit both 3-pointers. He taught 2 blocks, 7 rebounds. And that doesn't count his sticky defense, Pickles, that he played all night long. I mean, if you look at Murray here, okay, Aaron Gordon, you got the Joker. You put those 3 together, and it reminds me of the Chicago Bulls, Horace Grant being Aaron Gordon, Scottie Pippen. I know he's a forward, and of course, Murray is Murray's a guard, shooting guard, whatever. And then Jordan obviously would be the Joker. When you got them 3 playing at the level that they played at, and I don't even forget about game 3. Game 3 was a game where they were flat. They were flat, and even Anthony Edwards here.
Is this the kind of team that is just?
Anthony Edwards even made the comment about it. You know, let's see if I have this comment here. Anthony Edwards here. Listen to Anthony. No, wait, never mind. I didn't have it. But anyways, he was basically saying we had 3 days off. Okay. They had 3 days off, and they had guys like me and your national media, your big TV network, saying that this thing is over. They're the favorites, should be the favorites. They were 6-0 at that point. Going to walk into an NBA championship. You start talking about his legacy. Like my dad will say, you're kind of putting the cart before the horse. You still have to finish the series off. He made a comment in regards to that. And he said this after they get blown out on Friday night, right? Going back to Friday night's game, you know. But game 4 is the one where I knew they were going to be serious. Of course, Edwards came out and had 44 points, you know. But I'll come back to that in a little bit. Back to what I was saying here. You know, Murray, who got in trouble for throwing a heating pad, $100,000 fine on the court there in game 2. He had 17 points in game 1, 8 points in game 2, to 24 points in game 3, and 19 points last night. This is Murray alone. 50% from the 3-point. The Joker, my best observation of him, again, was his ability to find Aaron Gordon down low between 2 7-footers. Impressive. And him and Anthony Edwards, ample amount of respect for Joker. Don't forget and I mentioned that 3 days off deal and everything. So let's see. And Joker just played great. I mean, he didn't get ahead of himself. He didn't pass for a bad shots here. I talked about the splitting the guys here. I also talked about the fact that he didn't take that many threes himself. He backed the guys into the corner. He did not take too many fadeaways. He leaned into his shot. He even got a good hook shot there in over Rudy Gobert, who made a ton of bad errors in that game. I think he had like 11 points, Gobert. So he's not really showing their big three. 2 of their big 3 didn't show up. Okay, Minnesota. Okay. You got Karl Anthony Towns had 13 points, and he had 25 in game 2. So, and a lot of that is because of the defense and the substitutions of Mike Malone had put in that first game, in my opinion. But listen to Anthony Edwards give the respect for the Joker's performance here over these last 2 games. Listen up.
Is this the kind of team that is just going to capitalize on any little mistake that you make? How do you kind of make sure that you're clean and precise?
I mean, they got the best player in the world, and he's got the ball the entire game. So anytime you make a mistake, he sees it. So, I mean, it's hard to beat that.
I mean, I love the fact that he's humble like that. I never recall, Pickles, recall Kobe Bryant making that kind of comment. Now, I know Shaq had that respect for his opposition. That's what he said about Jordan. He says, what can we do? He's the best. 35 points for the Joker, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 57%. And that doesn't count hockey assists. That doesn't count setting the things up. That doesn't count the screens he had, But again, Anthony Edwards, 44 points, 5 rebounds, 5 threes, 5 assists, 2 steals, and 16 for 25. He did everything he could do, Anthony Edwards. But going back to Aaron Gordon, he's the Horace Grant of this. If you were comparing this to the first three-peat of the Chicago Bulls, Aaron Gordon, 27 points, 11 of 12, 3 for 3 from free throws, 7 rebounds and 2 blocks. He was just awesome. The guy was all that and a couple of suits. When he plays like that, and of course, and then you get a Jamal Murray getting away from the way he was and not turning the ball over or making silly turnovers and whatnot. They're going to win. They're going to win, So I don't know if they're going to be able to make the readjustment going back to Denver, by the way. Yeah, Karl Anthony Towns, I made some notes here. He was 0 for 7. Bad shot selection, and, of course, Aaron Gordon defended him as well. 13 points, 1 for 4. Rudy Gobert, silly fouls. Joker's main teammates outperformed Edwards, and that was really what happened in this particular game here. Like I said, I give it this much time because I think that I think the winner of this thing will win the championship. Again, I just think Michael Malone has simply outcoached Chris Finch. Yes, Minnesota looked more athletic, bouncing around all over the place, but Denver, deep playoff run experience has been the difference in Game 4. Kind of reminded me of the finals 2 years, not last year, 2 years ago when Golden State did not look like the athletic team that Boston. I told my friend Cordat, who watches the program, that Golden State team did not look like the athletic Boston team, but they were the more experienced, championship-riddled team. They made the right pass at the right time. Boston seemed just to tick off every single game, even after losing Game 2 and going down 2 to or Game 3, going down 2-1, ultimately winning that series in 6. this feels like the more experienced Denver team, even though at times that Minnesota team really looks like the superior athletic team. You could tell that the big game experience has, and you notice I said the key word at big game experience, because age-wise, these players, there's not that much difference there age-wise. Rudy Gobert is 31. Karl Anthony Towns, 28. Your youngest is your biggest superstar, who is performing well. 22-year-old will be 23 in August. Anthony Edwards there. And, of course, you got Mike Conley. But this championship Denver core here is really, really playing up to par here. So we'll see what happens here. Edwards seems pretty nonchalant. See if I got another quote from him here. So here we go. Anthony Edwards, more quotes from him.
Those 2 wins. I think the 3 days hurt us, actually. Yeah, I think
having those
after those 2 wins, they gave us like 3 days off or 3 days before we play again, and I don't really like that at all. But I think that's why we came out sluggish game 3. But I don't think they got any momentum. I mean, they won. We won 2 games. They won 2 games. At this point, it's just whoever wins 2 games. So I don't know how people look at it, but I look at it like I'm happy. I'm ready. We're competing at the highest level, and I'm smiling about it because I'm happy. I'm ready to go play. If we play tomorrow, I'll be ready. So it's gonna be fun.
I don't think he's lying there. I think Edwards, he's not really feeling the pressure here, but the pressure's got to be on Towns, who could get moved this year. Possibly. That's been talked about in the past. Now, this run they're on, maybe they don't do it. Maybe they just extend him. But I believe Anthony Edwards. But again, you've got to get Towns the ball more if you're Minnesota and you want to come back and win this thing. Right now, I cannot believe I'm saying this, but I believe Denver's going to take this thing back. It's simply about experience and execution. These teams are very close. And again, this feels a lot like the Golden State Boston series 2 years ago. The winner of Game 5 will win it. Nuggets have they are favored to win. This is back in Denver. Tuesday night. It's going to be an excellent game. I have already recorded Pickles, and I'll probably wake up at 2:00 in the morning and finish watching it. All right, really good stuff. Okay, so we'll see how this thing plays out. It's great basketball. If you like the game of basketball, watch this particular game. Pickles thinks they just simply missed too many foul shots. I thought that Denver was just a step ahead of them all night long as far as their passing, their cutting, their screen game. You name it. I mean, of course, Murray hitting that 3 at the end, that was a little bit of luck to throw it in there. But and Kevin Harlan hearing it, he's like, "It's a good if it goes, yes." And he hits like this long 3, and he's standing right in front of Kevin Harlan with TNT calling the game. It's a big moment. I think that the NBA could use that as a promo for the future playoff runs. Really good games here. Okay. What else do I have here? Boston. Now, Boston, Boston's a team you can't go in. Let's see what they're doing right now, just out of rank curiosity. They're up by 5 points at halftime, and there's no Donovan Mitchell. But let me say this. Saturday night, the Celtics play their most, in my opinion, the most complete game since I've seen them in the past 3 years. They're not settling for the 3 ball. They're getting to the rim, especially Drew Holiday on Saturday night, taking the mid-range game. Tatum took 8 threes. He could have took 15, but he got to the mid-range game. He got in his comfort zone. Also, Jaylen Brown getting the ball to the rim and paying attention on defense. It's like they were watching the show. If you watch Boston on Saturday night, they were really in tune, taking the ball to the rim. making the correct passes, no fadeaways. They may have took a bad shot in that game, but that may have been why I went to the restroom or something. That was their most complete game on both sides of the ball. Eventually, that opened up the 3 ball, and of course they hit a few threes there. They won. They covered. That's the Boston team that I know. If they play like that, they can compete with this Minnesota team or this Denver team. Okay. That's a big if. I don't trust their coach. If you had the right coach, if you had a Pat Riley, if you had a Phil Jackson, they would play like that just about every single night. You don't sit there and take the three. I saw them miss 2 threes in a row Saturday night, and immediately the next possession they took it. They had fast break points. I want to say they had 50 points in the paint, and they had 12 fast break points there. So they were not playing around. It's like they listened to what I was saying, But they heard the criticisms of guys like me saying, hey, listen, you guys are 500. You are 500 at home over the last 3 years in the playoffs. With all this talent, you're getting the number 1 seed. You're blowing people out in the regular season. That 3, there's a little bit more nerves in the playoffs. Sometimes teams tend to rush the 3 ball and they miss it and get behind and try to shoot themselves back in the game. Instead, get the ball inside. And they did that. And they did it really well. That was really impressed with Boston on Saturday night. Now, they're kind of playing down to their competition. No Jared Allen, no Donovan Mitchell, and it's just a 5-point game. Now, this is at Cleveland. These are pros here. They've got a lot of pride. Darius Garland's still a very good player. Evan Mobley's still a very good player here. You still got your bench players still shoot the ball well. I think Boston will win this game. It's at halftime now, but don't be surprised if it's within that 12-point margin. Of course, if you're a Celtic fan, you just want to win, okay? You have a tremendous advantage on whoever is left, per se, in the East, whoever's left in the East, because of the injuries just keep mounting up for this Knick team. And, of course, the youth of that Pacer team is really young. I mean, Halliburton is like 23 or something like that. I know that Turner has been around for a while, and I know Siakam has got championship experience. So Pickle says, are flaky, too many jumpers. Let's see. Pickles missed too many foul shots. Mike Conley. Yeah, Conley will play good too. Conley played Jamal Murray 48 feet as well. I mean, he'll play it. A lot of sticky glue defense. I like Minnesota's effort. I like the fact that they're picking guys up practically full court in some instance. Okay. Denver, another observation about that series is Denver is by game 3, it took them 2 games to adjust to that level of defense that Minnesota has committed to, with Daniels, with Anthony Edwards himself. I read a stat the other day. The man he was playing, it was shooting about 28% going back to the Phoenix series. Pickle says best player in the world. Barkley's right. Joker's the best player in the game. Yeah, he is. I mean, the Joker is feeling disrespected because Shaq told him that he thought SGA should have won the MVP. Remember, the MVP was given out last Thursday. And listen, there's not really an argument for or against really a SGA. I didn't have any argument. They got the best record, even though it was by just tiebreakers. They had the same record. But SGA he had more 30-point games. You name it. Best record. had better stats than Tatum. I know that Tatum and Boston had the best record in the league, but they did have the best record statistically in the West, OKC. So, but Joker took offense to that and the fact they got smoked in the first 2 games, and he just elevated his game. And again, Aaron Gordon, when he plays at that level, and Murray just got to shoot about 50%, they're going to win. They're going to beat people. When Gordon plays at that level that he did, he was in a total zone. Aaron Gordon looked like the guy that for the last 2 playoff series last year, including putting the clamps on LeBron James defensively last year, playing both sides of the ball. Didn't show any holes in his game. He was in total beast mode. So anyways, I'm bouncing around a little bit. Let's move on to Knicks. Let's stay out west, actually. Dallas. Okay, now this Dallas team, Dallas is up 2-1. I want to say they play later on the night, right? And I could see them being up 3-1 after tonight. The role players are really delivering. This is my observation from Saturday for Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving. PJ Washington shoot 50% from 3 in game 3, but there's unsung heroes. Guys like this Derek Lively Pickles. Derek Lively off the bench, 27 minutes. His rim protections, his tap back efforts, their defensive efforts for guys, again, not filling up the stat sheet, but guys like Derek Jones has brought some much needed defense for Dallas. Much needed defense and athleticism to this Mavs team that has been lacking for years. I would say this is the most athletic, keyword athletic, that this Dallas team has been, in my opinion, since Luka was been drafted back in 2018. Derek Jones had a block the other night. He pinned the ball against the backboard. It was very Tayshaun Prince, 2004 Detroit Pistons against the Indianapolis Pacers then, and Reggie Miller type of play here, where they eventually went on, beat the Pacers and beat the Lakers to win the NBA title that year, led by Defensive Player of the Year Ben Wallace here, and Rasheed Wallace shooting from the outside. So Luka's starting to trust his teammates. Kyrie is starting to trust his teammates. This is the most cohesion Dallas team, and I'm not exaggerating here, probably since 2011, when they end up upsetting the Miami Heat, led by Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. That was their first year, and Chris Bosh. That was the first year together. Don't think they're going to beat Denver or Minnesota, but I will say this: they are trending in the right direction. They're finally got some really good. They had Chris Chandler on that team that was an excellent 2011 rim protector for that team. But their defense is legit. You know, their defense is legit. I can see, I understand why the Jason Kidd got an extension that he did, because these young guys are really playing well. They're really, and Luka's not 100%. His usage rate is down. That's also a good sign. You don't want him having too much ball handling. They do not win games when his usage rate is over a certain amount of minutes. That means him carrying the ball too much. He's playing defense now. He has lost some weight. He's more fitted for the playoffs now. But again, he's not quite 100%. You could tell that. He's not quite getting that lift on his jump shot, but he's getting help. Washington, I want to say he came over from Charlotte. Either way, he's turned out to be a great addition for this team. And Lively, I want to say Lively is a second-year player or a rookie. I want to say he's player out of Derek Lively is out of Duke here. And he's really playing well. He's only 20-something years old. So kudos to the scouting department there with the Mavericks here. The Mavericks have a legit shot there. They're probably a player away. They're probably a player away that could legitimately compete with, I don't think I would ever say this because of the fact they got Kyrie, but Kyrie's been on his best behavior. He's not forcing bad shots. He's making shots when needed. He is getting with the program. He's playing defense, Pickles noticed, and so is Luka. Two players who are allergic to defense. Jason Kidd has got them to play. And again, this Derek Jones, this Lively, those guys are playing great defense. And Washington turns out to be an excellent 27 points of the night pickup there. So it's a really good observation there. I come out with a positive outlook on Dallas going forward. And I'll say this, OKC, listen, folks, they're the youngest 1 seed ever, okay? As expected, I'm sure privately, not publicly, we're trying to win every year, right? But the general manager for the OKC Thunder, Sam Presti, is saying this team is a year ahead of schedule, maybe 2 years. Chet Holmgren, folks, he's in his second year. Chet Holmgren's in his second year of this on this team. Remember, he got hurt last year in training camp. Okay, they were still talking about him being rookie of the year and all that. I'm thinking, well, it shouldn't count because he didn't play. He was not a rookie. You could say that he redshirted, but he's still drafted last year. He wasn't drafted this year. He's a second-year player. But the fact that now I know SGA was the runner-up and should have been in the MVP. His points have not been. I don't know. He had a good game the other night. Overall, his points have been down for the playoffs here. But, you know, guys like Josh Giddey, Chet Holmgren's playing really well. And they are ahead of schedule. They've got a lot of draft picks. They can add another player. I would try to get a veteran player, whoever fits well with this group. Holmgren's going to have to put on about 40 or 50 pounds and work on his game. But at least you know he's a hit. You know that this group is just a very good young group. It's the youngest ever to win a 1 seed, you know. He needs to hit the weight room. I mean, maybe this guy could be another Kevin McHale, you know. He's got those long arms like McHale. So the West is pretty loaded, you know, and not to mention the fact that you're going to get another year with Wembanyama. They've got a top 10 draft pick, you know. Kudos to Atlanta Hawks of all teams. They're going to get they got the number 1 pick. There's a good chance they can move off Trae Young. I hear and read that there's a guard out of France that is going to be likely the top prospect. I could see them moving off him. Who knows where Trae Young is going to go? There's a lot of teams that can use a guy that can shoot like Trae Young. But San Antonio is going to be coming. But, you know, with all these picks, who knows what Oklahoma City is going to do? Who knows? I know that the sky's the limit, and they've got a lot of really good players, and they're very, very young. Kudos to the team in the middle of the country, even though they're probably going to get beaten 5 or 6 to this Dallas Maverick team. They're lucky to win a series being as young as they are. Okay, that's a mouthful, right? That's a mouthful. Okay. Again, as I mentioned at the very beginning of the program, folks, the Dallas Mavericks, I love their arena, by the way. I love the lighting of the arena. I love their crowd. Detroit Lions have quietly signed Jared Goff to a 4-year extension, okay? Let's see what this – my first reaction, again, it's a little rich. It's a little rich for my liking. All right. 4 years, $212 million extension, 170. Okay, here we go. This ESPN, Adam Schefter, the first to report this. Lions signed quarterback Jared Goff to a 4-year, $212 million contract extension, 170 guaranteed. It makes the highest paid player in franchise history here. Goff, since acquiring him from the Rams back in 21, he made $26 million a year. He's 24, 23, and 1 over a span of averaging 4,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, 9 interceptions, 66.5 completion percentage. But I'd also I looked at more information here. $53 million a year. Goff's new contract vaults the salary charts. He's second behind only Joe Burrow for the highest annual salary. It pushes Detroit's offseason spending spree. Notice that they extended Ottomon St. Brown, the receiver, 4th-round pick, and they extended right tackle, not left tackle, right tackle, Penei Sewell. Goff's extension could be coming for quite some time. He finished in the top 4 in both passing touchdowns, 30 and 24, for pumping lines to the offense. Finished 3rd in yards per game, powered Detroit to the first division title in 30 years, 2 playoff wins, an NFC championship game, and a partridge in a pear tree. But again, he's 53. I don't got the details. I don't got the entrenched details. This is this is the beginning of the story. This is the front title. The details are what's the cap hits going forward. This story just came out late this afternoon. I'll probably dig a little bit more into the cap hits tomorrow's program. But he's second only to Joe Burrow with the 66 and 50 record overall. He's making more than Justin Herbert, who hasn't really proved anything. He's all potential, but he looks great. He's making more than Lamar Jackson, who's just got his second MVP, 58-19. Jalen Hurts, who's also been to the Super Bowl. Mind you, this guy's been to the Super Bowl too, though. And Kyler Murray and Deshaun Watson. So it's a little rich. I wish they could have gotten more like a Baker Mayfield times maybe add $5 million per year to it, a Baker Mayfield type of contract. But, I really respect just about every single move that this Brad Holmes has made, because he has done nothing but hit home runs here. Okay, back to my notes about this. You got to look at it in a perspective that, for one, this tells me that Hendon Hooker, their 3rd-round pick from not this year's draft, but last year's draft, he was a possible Heisman Trophy winner before he tore his ACL his senior year at Tennessee. Really set the world on fire in college football. Maybe that was more about the system and Josh Heupel. They would not have gave Jared Goff this kind of money. He was in the last year of his deal. Okay. This tells me they're not as high on him as I thought they may be. Okay. And I love Hendon Hooker, but when you shell out that kind of money to Goff, it's saying that Hooker's not, that was more about the system and not about Hooker. Okay. That's one aspect of it. Another aspect of this is Aiden Hutchinson. He's coming up next year. He's the only guy on that defense that I would extend. As of now, I have to look at it, but I know that Campbell is a very good linebacker. I know the safety they got there. These guys are all good. You don't extend those. A lot of those guys on rookie contracts anyway. But Hutchinson, after this season, they have to work out a way to get Hutchinson. He's a pass rusher. He's all that. He's very consistent. He's going to get his. Now, Taylor Decker is 31 years old. He's on the last year. His contract, that's the left tackle. This is not the right. Penei Sewell's a right tackle. This guy's your left tackle. Very important. I could see possibly them extending him. Okay. But I mentioned they already extended Brown. Williams is still on his contract there. Rookie. Sam Porter, second-year player. You don't have to worry about him until 2 more years. That's even for extension. That's the tight end. So my point is that the way they see it, for one thing, I think this team's going to the Super Bowl this year. I still believe that. I'm going to tell Jeremy Ballrick, who showed the knee-biting, the one I just mentioned, the one I'll be on Wednesday when the schedules are released at 8 p.m. Pickles, you should chime in there, okay? The kneecap biting with the Motor City Lions, kneecap biting with hosted by Jeremy Ballrick. I'll be on there 8 p.m. Central, 9 p.m. Eastern for 45 minutes to an hour. We're going to talk schedule release. I'm sure he'll want to talk about Goff's extension, okay? Again, Brad Holmes, Dan Campbell. By the way, did I mention the fact that Ben Johnson's a hot commodity? He's getting multiple interviews every year. He's eventually going to take one of these jobs. Remember, he's turned down the Commanders twice. He's turned down the Carolina Panthers year before last. He's getting a lot of job opportunities, okay? The way Brad Holmes, he probably sold this to ownership. He said, listen, we're not going to have Ben Johnson here for 5 or 6 more years. We don't think that's going to happen, okay? We are NFC Championship game. We should have been in the Super Bowl last year. We're in a division now that's no longer a laughingstock, a boredom division of the NFC. Look at what the Bears have done. They've had the number 1 pick. They've got monster play at wide receiver. They're upgraded lines there. They've got players they've added on defense all over, including Montez Sweat in a trade deadline last year. Defense there. Look how good Green Bay looked, who beat us, if I'm Brad Holmes, who beat the Lions there on Thanksgiving Day in Detroit's backyard there. They almost got to the NFC Championship game themselves when they they beat the brakes off Dallas. Then they go in there and they really press the 49ers hard. So he's saying, do I really want Goff to hold out over $5 or $6 million? Or do I want to make sure that him and Ben Johnson continue, that offensive coordinator, continue the momentum we built with Audemars St. Brown, with the healthy Jameis Williams, with the Sam Porter, okay, with second-year player, by the way, another guy they don't have to worry about for a while, Jamari Gibbs here, with this top-notch, probably the best offensive line in football for right now, okay, with those defensive pieces we've added, DJ Reader. Let me go back and look at this. So this is the sales pitch, and I could see myself being sold here. If they get to the Super Bowl, and they could win it, who's to say they can't? But if they get to the Super Bowl, all this is forgotten, folks. I mean, whether Jared Goff is slightly overpaid, this is all forgotten. Now, if they get a flood of injuries here, I'm trying to see. I know I got their depth chart in here somewhere. So I remember bringing it. They've got Jameis Williams. They've got Khalif Raymond, okay? Brooke Wright, Sam Laporta there, Jabari Gibbs, whose running backs typically have a better year their second year. Look at their defense here. Look at the DJ Reader, Marcus Davenport, Jack Campbell's a second-year player there. They drafted Terry and Arnold out of Alabama. They drafted last year Brian Branch, safety, who had 5 or 6 interceptions there. He's a ball hawk there. They brought in Carlton Davis signed him at the cornerback position there. So they've upgraded there. They've got plenty of competition. CJ Moore still on the roster here. So it's they've got players on the defensive side. Of course, Aiden Hutchinson, he's your guy. He's the only guy I'm going to re-sign right now on the defensive side, and he's going to be due next year. But if they win, it doesn't make no never mind, does it, Pickles? If they win the Super Bowl next year, you think the fans are going to worry about Jared Goff being overpaid? Now, if he has a setback next year, which I don't think he will, I think Jabari Gibbs will be that much better. You look at guys like Chris Johnson, Adrian Peterson, not Derrick Henry, maybe second year, but a lot of second-year running backs really take off. The game has slowed down to them. They're more comfortable with the schedule. They're used to a 17-game schedule versus a 12-game in college, 11, 12, I can't remember, but it's not 17, right? They're used to the rigorous of the NFL. Just him alone. This team right here has an opportunity to do big things. But they got to do it quickly. Okay, because eventually this cap hit's going to come in. All this money is going to – the reason why this worked is because his contract was low. But that being said, it was about $30 million prior to this, and they still won games, right? They got to the NFC Championship because Brad Holmes has hit so many home runs. They're just milking that round trade there. Okay. Remember, I look at all the players I just named. Brian Branch is part of that. These multiple first-round picks, Jack Campbell, Jabari Gibbs. People thought that was a reach. This guy's setting the world on fire at the running back position. Not to mention that they picked up David, Montgomery is your goal line guy. But Gibbs is going to be that much better as a star coming into year 2. Kirby Joseph there at free safety. Maybe Arnold gets smoked as a rookie, but that's really their only weakness there. Probably should have made a change there. And Ragnow, one of the better centers in the game. Frank Ragnow, maybe the best center. Kevin Zelter, I want to say they picked him up from like Cleveland or somebody. So they got a lot of Donovan Peoples-Jones. I forgot about him at wide receiver. So it's Ben Johnson, this offense. This is a win now team. You win the Super Bowl, Brad Holmes will be remembered forever. He will. Dan Campbell remembered forever doing this, getting this team first division win in 30 years, first championship game in 40 since '83 when they brought a lion to the stadium. Pickles, if you remember that. So it's winning will cure a lot of problems. Nobody even thought about Matt Stafford's injuries after they won that Super Bowl with the Rams. So right now, people say, "Well, the Rams won it." Well, if Detroit wins a Super Bowl, they've won it. But really, it's a win-win trade. If this was a win-win trade, if Detroit wins a Super Bowl, and again, I think they'll get there next year. So, anyways, tomorrow I'll be back on. Maybe we'll be able to break more into this particular contract and be able to see what the cap hits are. My guess is it's going to be backloaded. But then again, it may be front-loaded because they got so many good players on rookie contracts. Aiden Hutchinson's still one of those guys. I just mentioned all those off. So a lot of guys, even when they get extended, their cap hits for year 1 are really good. So this is pretty much all in. If that's the case, don't be surprised if Detroit doesn't make a big move come trade deadline in November, where they want to make another big move at defense, add another playmaker there, defense or receiver, depending on what their injury status is at the time. This is not going to be a cakewalk. Minnesota is going to be better. Chicago is going to be better. Green Bay, we know, is going to be the ultimate rival in this particular division. It's probably the most competitive division in the NFC. It may be the best division in the NFC, although the NFC West with the Rams making the moves they made, and of course the 49ers are still loaded with players here. They were in a Super Bowl last year, pending injuries. They're going to be good. And we saw the upgrades that Seattle's made. They're going to be good. And Kyler Murray's healthy in the West. So it's NFL, it's not easy. It's not easy, you know. But anyways, folks, if you like the show, please share the show. Got to build this thing up. I'll be back on tomorrow. We'll go over this. We'll go over tonight's games. And whatever big news that may be breaking. This one caught me a little bit off guard, but not too much. And Pickle says the Bears be done. I don't know about that. Only if the coaching's there. They got a lot of talent. So, anyways, I'll see you all later. Have a good night, everybody.